Thanks for joining. I see Becky start our recording. We are waiting for a couple of more participants to join. We have a lot of registration today, and let's give it a couple of minutes before we officially kick off our event today. Thank you for keeping this chat active and sharing where you're from. It's amazing to see how our community growing over this couple of years that we've been running those events, and it's amazing to continue the conversation beyond just the presentation that we have, but then be meeting in like separate discussion and can talk about content and about great result that you guys can bring to your organization, to your community. That's incredible. So happy to share today what we learned through our work, and we will be happy to hear from you as well.
And we can give it one more minute, I think, and then, yeah, start in another minute.
Thanks for joining from really different areas. Not everyone knows that even we running our chapter from Southern California, you still can join our event or our chapters and be part of this. So a lot of different chapters doing great things. So don't hesitate to join other chapters and continue this work movement, Workfront user groups. Incredible to see you guys all here today.
Absolutely. And with that, I think we'll begin. We're a few minutes after the hour. So I wanted to welcome everybody to this month's WUG SoCal event. It's on where to begin the decision framework for AI agents in Workfront. So we'll walk through a framework for evaluating whether an idea is worth building, choosing the right tool for the job, and just honest lessons on what makes an agent actually stick in workflows. The framework for evaluating whether your idea is even worth building will cover just clarity on what tools to use, whether it be API, MCP, Fusion, automation, or just the Workfront native features as well, like AI Collaborators or AI Assistant or Form Fill or Planning Designer. And we hope that you'll share your experiences along the way with AI and what you hope to accomplish with AI in the future. So now we will cover some housekeeping before we begin. So this meeting is being recorded. If you do not wish to participate, then you can watch it at a later time. And just some house rules here. So there's no self-promotion of any kind. You cannot contact people outside of the group without their consent, and you should not share any use cases that other members shared without their permission.
Yes, and of course, we would like to stay connected with all of you and more. You can first join our chapter. Link is provided in the chat, or you just can search through Workfront community and find it as well. Please join the chapter. What does it mean? That means you will be notified in a future event. Typically, we run our events once a quarter, so that you will not miss any cool stuff that we will be preparing for you. So please join our event and be part of our work community. And one more slide we have about also chapters. A lot of chapters are looking for co-leaders. So if you like what we do, if you would like to try yourself in a host role and host such event, you can choose in your area your chapter that you would like to co-lead or join. So those chapters are looking for co-leaders. Actually, we have also one more spot in our group. So if you'd like to join us and run event with us, you can also apply and send your proposal. If you're in Southern California, absolutely we'll be happy to discuss with you, co-leader in our WAC chapter event. But please don't hesitate, send your query to Julie and we will be happy to discuss further. Thank you.
And if you're interested in learning more tips and tricks, or even getting just more technical guidance, then you can check out Perspectives on Experience League. I'll leave the QR code here for a second in case anyone wants to scan that. And then a little bit about ourselves. So my name is Becky Barris. I'm one of the co-leaders of the WUG SoCal chapter. I live in San Diego. I'm the product owner and Workfront technical lead at Qualcomm. I started out at Qualcomm about 4 years ago, and we were just planting the seeds of Workfront and doing the initial implementation. And now we've got an entire farm, it seems, with the content supply chain, AI agents assigned to tasks, integrations.
Fantastic, Becky. Great experience. So excited to hear your story today about me. I'm Ola Kalin. I'm Vice President of Content Supply Chain Architecture at WorkFocus.io. I love Workfront. I love everything around Workfront. I have actually a PhD in economics, and I have master's degree in artificial intelligence that I got in 2012. Can you believe how much time I was waiting for that moment that I actually can come around and you can see it in the real enterprise unlock. So we'll be happy to share all our knowledge and practical experience that we learned throughout our journey, and very much appreciate collaboration with Becky, because again, you will see practical implementation. So
that's amazing. 2012, you've been working on AI for quite a while.
Ahead of time. Yeah, very excited that is now here. How to make this thing successful. So you can see we collect for you the decision framework for AI agent in Workfront. You can see a lot of questions here we gather from our learning, our experience, research, and a lot of things that we were discussing together in our user group to understand how the best to frame this decision. Then you even thinking about AI, even thinking about agents, and even thinking about all together in Workfront, right? So we first will discuss with you how the best to determine use case. Is it even worth to build? Is it make sense to even look on this use case and this problem that you're trying to solve? Then we will talk about which platform to choose. Is it combination of different platforms, everything all at once? Should interface to be conversational or deterministic using our typical software? I mean, there's all the questions that will rise, and they are not standalone. You need to connect your answers in the previous question and then choose the best solution that will help to fit and solve the challenge that you're trying to solve. Of course, you have in Toolbox a lot of tools available now. It's API, it's MCP, it's native AI features. It's all things that's coming in with every release that Adobe provides us with all new innovation that's coming in. And of course, we have Fusion that's like provide us the deterministic automation. Should we still use it, or should we abandon it and focus on agent? It will touch on all these questions and will help you to see and frame the picture overall, so you can find the best path to solve for your particular challenge that you're looking into. But then we come into very new area for all of us, human and agent. How to collaborate the best way? Should be all only agent and human, and where is the human in the loop? The exactly place that human needs to interact with agent. We will be discussing those concepts as well. Yeah, as well as Becky, I think you can add a lot more to this conversation.
Yeah, just reiterating what you said, like how do you know when to use Fusion versus AI? Is it either or is there just is it both of them, and then you just have a certain feature for one for the other, especially with tokens and that concern? And then how will you determine what a good use case is? That'll make an impact, not just be something nice to have for one or two people, but really make a big impact in your department. So those are all things that we're going to cover.
Yeah, I think important one to add, you see in the end, we have our success metrics, adoption, governance challenges, and it's a lot, right? So we were thinking about all the different things and thought, okay, what the best way to frame it, that we not forget some things, not focus on like tactical before define the strategies, keeping the big picture around and understand when we need to go and zoom in into details. So we find this interesting concept that we would like to introduce you today, Workfront AI Agent Farm. farm. So all that we're going to be discussing today will be connected to farm life and farm development and all different things connected to this. So we believe that it will help us to frame it together, and you will have like nice learning and nice memory association with those farm that we're going to introduce you today. So stay tuned.
Yeah, so as Olia mentioned, the farm concept is a great way to look at how to evaluate using AI in Workfront. Now, I know farms don't have a lot in common with AI, but you'll see the analogy here. So we're going to walk you through the preparing of the soil, which is like evaluating your use case. And then we're going to decide how to pick the right crop or what type of agent is worth using, planting seeds, or defining your agent's skills. And then we'll move into the data flow and form inputs connecting the agent, which is like the irrigation system. And we'll talk about the tools in the barn and which ones are important. Are you using API, MCP, AI collaborators, or are you using the tractor, which is like the automation or heavy lifting? We'll also talk about governance and then adoption challenges that can be unpredictable, just like the weather and seasons. And then we'll move into measuring the success of your harvest and real impact. And then we want to hear from you on how you're scaling your agents. And then we can have a farmer's market style discussion on how we're all building together.
Sounds like a fantastic journey, and let's begin. We invite you to begin with the preparation of the soil, right? It's very important to understand where we start and what's the starting point, what the foundation would be. And I know, Becky, you have a lot to say about how you prepare it for success.
Yeah, when preparing the soil, you may have a lot of ideas of cool agents, and a lot of your users in Workfront might want to do a lot of things like make request process faster, a lot of cool ideas. But what it really comes down to is prioritizing at enterprises what's going to make the biggest impact and what will be scalable and really affect the most people. So, a way that I evaluated this was something like, do I want to make it nice to have where I would just like help users submit a request outside of Workfront, which is very similar to using the request form in Workfront? Or do I really want to enhance and optimize a process that affects hundreds of users and it could really be sped up? It could really be more efficient.
Yeah, your user experience needs to come first, and you need to think about users. What the number, what the impact? Do I need to spend efforts right here, or where is the biggest value will come? Then you're thinking about agents, because agent can be cool, but the same way they need to bring business value. Because when you will go after experimentation to actually real go live, that's a question will come up from your leadership. So in this case, you really need to know what you're doing and why this is important for the organization.
Yeah, and for me, the decision was easy. I decided to go with the example of optimizing, well, a process that I'm very passionate about, optimizing the brand and legal review process. So, used a pre-legal flight review agent and summarizer for the feedback in the approval process. And that's something that would save a lot of time for users, and not just necessarily a minute or two to fill out the form, but that could really save them time before they formally submit, and really consolidate the feedback and give them clear action items. So that was something that I really thought the juice was worth the squeeze, and also had to consider the number of people it would affect too. So there's a lot of people who need that process done in the organization, not just a few. And so when measuring success, I just considered like how many people is it affecting, and do I also need to consider licenses for both tools, like licenses for Workfront and who has the AI tool, or can we just make it work maybe with an API inside Workfront where we don't really have to be concerned with who has access to the AI tools and licenses? So yeah, got a better idea, a definition of success.
Very important point, Becky, in terms of like start from the users and then don't think about technology first, right? Because technology is right here. You need to find the best one. So choosing the right crop, I think this is important things that will be next in your decision framework.
Yes. What business problem did it solve and what's the outcome? So it's not just like, oh, where can I add on AI, but what problem am I actually solving? Like, how is this going to solve it? So I looked at the process. It would affect hundreds or even thousands of users because that's a process that really touches every initiative. People always have to get approvals for everything, really, especially enterprises, before it goes out the door. And so I saw the scalability and benefit of how much time it could save for submitters getting that first pass look, and by the reviewers being able to save time because they're the reviewers and the legal and brand teams are getting a lot better quality submissions too. So this is something that would really help the organization out. And the submitters are saving time because they have clear action items in the feedback. They can get a status of where the reviews are at, and it's clear that these agents were a winner. This process was a winner for moving forward with, for what to do first. But the agent, I really thought, needed to be initiated inside of Workfront. So it does have the capability to work outside of Workfront and be initiated outside, but really I wanted to embed this inside Workfront, right inside the workflows. So for my example, like, I know there's a lot of different platforms you can use. A lot of people consider licensing, token costs, model specialization. And so for my example, I used Writer, and that's what I'll discuss for the example. So yeah, it just depends kind of on what your organization allows. And is security okay with everything? Did you sign the AI writer for the Adobe native features? Do you have approval to use Claude, Copilot? And one thing to keep in mind is that if you're going to eventually connect with Workfront, then you may actually need to specify the API connection in the agent when you're building that. So that's some things to keep in mind when you're like building the agent, is that you'd have to specify what tool it's supposed to do that work in. So.
Yeah, Becky, I wanted to say I love that analogy, and I would say to set up you for success, choose the winner right out of the start, right? So that will be easier if you do your research, evaluate all the options that you have, and evaluate the most valuable process and see what you already have to achieve that, and then start building on that. So that's why decision framework really important. Okay, what is going to be the next one? Planting the seeds. Becky, you amazingly building on the same example and just kind of walking us through this workflow, how exactly that was being implemented using this framework. So then we defining the agents. It's not only your goal and your users' goals and your why you need this process, but it's also agents' goals and agent playbooks. So many things to consider. Then you setting up the agent, from the name of the agent to the function to what they actually do, and skills and a lot of different things. So Becky, if you can share what exactly you did for your particular example, will be great.
Yeah. So when thinking about what the agent should do, is it individual tasks or multiple tasks? Do I want the agent to handle just one thing, or do they need to handle multiple skills? So kind of like a playbook, how Writer has playbooks, and that has multiple skills. So that's a couple of actions. And with Workfront, it's really needed to have something that can do a couple actions, because when creating something like an approval agent for something like brand and legal review, I wanted to be able to ask the agent multiple questions. So first of all, can you find my project or submission? Can you give me a status update of the review? Can you summarize the feedback? It's not just one task, but can you do all that for me? So you know, it's less efficient to use another agent for something that's so related to that task. So that's something that the users would want, and they would want to be able to just go in one place and either, you know, trigger this agent in the task workflow or a comment and have it do all those skills.
And all this in Workfront. That's fantastic how it will evolve and how Adobe product evolving all the time. And we now have all the capability of AI available inside of Workfront and supporting systems. So incredible. Yes, let's go to the next irrigation system. So that's a really important concept that we would like you to think through, because even if you think about agent, even if it's already in Workfront, agent is not alone. So it's absolutely human around, and other agents around, other system around. In those other system, you might see other agents as well, even though you can have one interface from all the different systems. Still, you need to think how those pipes connected behind the scenes, what's happening in the background. Think about like multi-solution architecture. Think about all the structure, all the connectivity that actually remind us irrigation system. So that will help us to connect all this concept. And you're thinking, I'm not alone. My agent is not alone. There is big infrastructure for the enterprise, and it will be great to connect them together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important to plan for those. Some very important things to decide are what do you need the inputs to be and what do you want the outputs to be, and then setting it up properly. So if we think about something like making requests in Workfront as an example for AI, this is a popular one. A lot of people want a faster way to make a request. A lot of people have asked about that. And so do you want to initiate the agent inside or outside of Workfront? If you decide to do it outside of Workfront, is it going to save that much time if you have a really lengthy form with a lot of questions and you have 20 questions, then you're just basically making a form outside of Workfront and it's not really saving any time, unless you want to do something like give it preliminary information. Then that's something that maybe the agent would be able to provide the preliminary information like on a brief, and that would be super helpful. But one thing that you don't want to do either that you have to consider for the inputs is you don't want to make it easier on the requester to fill out barely any info, initiate a request, and then you have the executional teams who are having to now the burden got shifted to them. Now they have all these half completed Workfront requests or half completed forms. They don't have half the information. It wasn't assigned properly. So it wasn't really, it's not a huge problem for us to fill out the form, and there is AI form fill too to help with that, right? Native in Workfront. So didn't really want to replicate that, but we definitely wanted to help with the process, and figure out, because all those things you need to consider is when you're setting up a request outside of Workfront, you got to make sure if you're using MCP or API, then it goes to the correct form, correct intake team, correct template, so that it's not just a blank request, really knows where to go. So that's all part of the configuration too, whatever way you decide to do it. So I steered away from doing the input of the requests outside of Workfront for some of the ones with really lengthy questions, and just decided to think about the actual execution of it and the approval. And so if you do, that is something to consider, is just all the back and forth that might need to happen outside with the AI agent, outside if you do initiate outside, or if you want it to work inside. So for me, in my example, I really wanted to make this happen inside Workfront because I feel like that's where all of the work is happening and being managed. And with using something like an API and that's assigned to a task, we don't really need to know who is, we don't have to use MCP or know who is doing it when you're requesting outside, because the project owner is actually noted in Workfront. So you'll be able to tell who's doing it on their own project.
Thanks, Becky. Great example. I think this step is super important for all of us, tools in the barn. And I would think a lot of you probably heard most of all, or maybe even all those abbreviations that you can see on the screen. And I would say a lot of people starting from this step. But as you saw from our decision framework, we come to this step when we're actually doing real project, real implementations through all this journey. And only now we're thinking about like, okay, what tools we need to have and to choose to particular use case, right? And you can see here API available. So it is with API, you can directly connect system. It's been around for a while. And definitely if you were going beyond Workfront itself, you probably were looking into API Explorer, then you built in text mode in Workfront, then you most likely evaluated Fusion and set up those deterministic connection, either automation in Workfront or with connection with other Adobe product in the ecosystem, or even third-party system as well, if you have a HTTP module with Fusion, or just using the raw API with other tool. So that's been quite a while around, but it's still around. So if you would like to connect through API and use other system to connect with Workfront, that's available options for you. The next one, that's more modern way to connect systems and use AI agent inside of the system that actually can perform action and do some steps and perform tasks is model context protocol that's allow you to structure a tool access. Typically, how this MCP structured in the system, you will have write mode, read mode, so it's allow you to connect to your system like Workfront and read all data about project, or make some modification, allow your agent to actually act on behalf of the agent inside of your Workfront system. So it's all available. And MCP functions, they are growing. So if you're curious, you can look into documentation if you did not check it out yourself right yet, or you can just upload and connect your AI tool through MCP with Workfront, either Planning or Workfront, and see how the number of these features are growing. So you will be able to see a lot of write and read information, what you actually can do. And it's not only in Workfront, in other systems as well. So that's already available. It's already there. AI, agentic AI in Workfront, it exists. And please explore MCP and see how that can work for you. The newest feature in the innovation from Adobe, it's AI Collaborators that allow you to actually use Workfront native AI features that's set up for you. So great feature to take a look, and you can use your conversational interface to actually make it work. Don't forget about Fusion. If you on the Fusion world, on the deterministic world that we've always been in through the many years using our SaaS application, in this case, Fusion is still around and will be around because you can enrich your experience with the agent, with human agent interaction using Fusion. Fusion deterministic. That means it's not probable like AI agents, right? It's like for sure, if you connect those two systems, if you have error handling, and if the system works, you will have the same result that you set up, right? So if system did that, I will get that. So you also need to think about user in this picture, because user, they are used to this picture. If I click on this button, I will get this, right? I need to go through adoption training. I need to know what does it mean, but that means that automation will work this exactly the same time. All AI agent and AI feature, they probabilistic. Most probable I will get such type of result. If I try again, I will get other result. So also, like when we're talking about adoption and choosing this tool, understand your user, understand that you will need to help your users to go through this transition, not only technically set up those features, but also through mindset to explain that it's different, it's not either or another, and also be transparent with the users what your system actually do. Is your system set up in deterministic way, so they clear for users that's what behind the scene, or it's going to be probable and not always you will get the same result. Different user will start using the system and they get different results. So maybe AI helper in Workfront, AI assistant will be the best choice for getting started with AI. So if you sign all the documentation and enable AI in your Workfront, probably that's the first feature. Then how you can access AI capabilities in Workfront, because AI assistant is great. You can access it through Workfront and through Planning as well. So in this case, if you're using, let's say, AI assistant in Workfront, you will be able to even ask how to write text mod formulas, and they're actually responding very well in Workfront and in Planning. So that's fantastic. You can also ask different questions about your projects, or about like what's maybe reference on any documentation if you look in some information. You also can use a couple of more features that's available. Let's say AI form filler, then you fill in the form. That's helpful for you. You can just drop your document or PDF or Word document inside of the interface, and it will allow you to like distribute the data through the form. The same as in Planning, you can absolutely drop it in the chat, and in a Planning record type, you will have all the information structured per your brief or per your input strategic initiatives, let's say, in Planning. So don't hesitate to start using those features. They are really great, and it will be either your first exposure to AI through AI assistant, or more advanced feature like API and MCP, and you absolutely can try use AI Collaborator and still continue using Fusion. So a lot of options. Becky, what you choose for your example?
Yeah, well, as much as I love AI collaborators, I love that new concept. To set that up, you have to be a system admin in Workfront. You have to know the app ID and the also the API key. So you may need your tool like Writer or Copilot. You may need their assistance a little bit with that. And then you give it a name, and it's great because it does actually reply to you that once you set it up, it says like that it's working on it. So more features are even coming for that, which are very exciting. I do also love the AI assistant for like reporting questions, and the form fill is the most popular feature that's native that we use. But what I used for my example is there was a problem to solve where we needed to have the agents embedded in the workflows, and as of right now, I used an API and Fusion, so I can get into a little bit how we did that. So Fusion, it's like the tractor. When wanting to take the agents to the next level and put them inside the workflow, I know that I had to make the agents users in Workfront, and then I we had to make 3 fusion scenarios. So we made one to trigger for if a comment is left to activate the agent, and then I also set one up into a workflow that would automatically kick off after all the predecessor tasks were completed. So those were my 2 that I set up. One of them was a legal agent that set up through the comments. The other's the summarizer. So for doing that, those 3 fusion scenarios, one for like the trigger for comments, one for automatically completing, and then just one for the output, those were all what we set up in order to activate. And right now we're kind of just testing out and seeing how that's working for a small group for the legal one. But for the summarizer, everybody is actually getting a summary and finding it really helpful too. So Fusion is really kind of like the tractor in the sense where like AI is doing a really good job summarizing and providing action items and identifying like review, like what's wrong with something from a legal perspective or brand perspective. But Fusion is actually what I'm using to activate the agent. So if you want to say, hey, anytime I tag this user, then the agent's going to activate, and the output's going to be a comment. That's what we did. So the output's a comment in Workfront, and it's that's how it's activated. So I think Fusion is great because got to consider also when you're using AI versus Fusion about the tokens and really when it comes to the API too. So since the agent is assigned to a task, we didn't have to worry about like the person whose project it was using it, because it's just the API, and then we know that the owner of the project is the one who is actually like doing the tasks on there in this use case. So that's why I used an API connection with the writer agent to set it up in Workfront. So that's a little bit of the tractor, the heavy formulaic work to make that happen.
Yeah, this example illustrates that you can get creative in terms of how you combining those available tools for you. So you don't need to think about again one on the other. You can use Fusion for any task that you need to do deterministically to ensure that that's like happening. But in the same time, you can also inside of Fusion scenario embed different AI tools or AI processing if that's workflow that you would like to do, right? Or use just directly MCP or any native capability that's available here. So we wanted to bring this tractor analogy for you. So when you need to do heavy lifting, that you're dealing with permission, that you're dealing with those concepts, use those tips, and you can definitely use a user account to make sure that you like controlling the experience if that's a part of your workflow. So again, get creative and share your use cases, how you combining those tools in a different workflow. We'll be happy to hear you in the end of the presentation. Thanks, Becky, for the tractor analogy.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love something that we were talking about the other day, actually, that you mentioned, is just don't overcomplicate it. If the tractor or Fusion can do the work, then you don't have to overcomplicate and use agentic where it's not needed, because it's going to be expensive to support, so if it's formulaic and Fusion can do it, then that would be a good opportunity to implement using that. So that's resonated with me.
Yes, fantastic. Choose the right tool for right workflow, but also don't forget this. This for your governance. We believe that this analogy and this picture will always be in your mind when you're thinking about any agents, because that's important governance problem, right? And governance challenge that absolutely should be addressed. Doesn't matter, are you going through your pilot or you connecting enterprise system on a larger scale? Governance will be the key, because a lot of interaction and a lot of connection, and you need to make sure that all the consents are there and all the permission are supported, and a lot of other things that you can keep it. Today's presentation not about exact governance, but we really would like to highlight the importance of governance and guardrails, and especially introducing agent. You need to have a kill switch, so that means that you need to have a stop. Then agent needs to kind of stop what they're doing and revert back. So always check your system. Is it possible to revert back the function? Is it possible to have versioning or copies or something like that? Because in the early days it was hard to experiment with such feature, because if you building something great and the agent's doing amazing work, and then you can't get back if some error happens. So all the error handling processes and guardrails and governance are still valid, and even more valid in agentic era. So think through this as well in the implementations.
Yeah, something also to keep in mind too for governance is access and permissions. So if you are using an API and you're initiating outside of Workfront in the AI tool, then do you want anyone to be able to go in and just be like, hey, give me a status update on this project, but what if somebody doesn't want them to see the project? So that's where MCP might be better, because you can actually do access and permission. So that type of governance, like when it comes to Workfront governance, who's a planner who can make projects and who isn't? Do we want people who don't have any knowledge making projects to be able to do that? So also supporting and protecting data. So we don't just want anybody to be able to see everything in there in Workfront, if they're initiating from the outside. So really being protective of that personal data. And the last thing for governance too that I think is important is roles and responsibilities. So there's a whole farm that goes into making this happen, because you've got the Workfront system admin who has to enable this, and then you've got the team whose process it might be for if they built the agent, and then you've also got the AI tools too, so you may have to go directly to them and the owners of those who are kind of handling the APIs if you need some information like that. So there's a whole set of different ownership rules and responsibilities, access permissions. So if you have the governance, that's the way. So we want you to keep in mind this scarecrow picture just when you're thinking about governance.
Yes, and be prepared for different weather in season. So it's not like black and white all the time. And if you choose one, it's not another. So we believe that being prepared and thinking about this at different type of challenges you will meet on the way, it's important to be just prepared, right? One of these adoption challenges. So they absolutely can be very unprecedented, because you're stepping in a new AI era that's never been done before. You didn't experience how user will actually react on those different changes, how they need to be prepared as well. So all the new practices, new combinations of best practices that have been already established probably will be rewritten as we are moving through this journey together. But it's really important to understand that it's a lot of different things should happen when you setting up your agents. Becky, I think you have real example about like how you done it for your example.
Yeah, so we're doing a test, and when rolling out an agent, like there's some use cases where maybe nobody will mind it, just like kind of like some of the AI native features in Workfront, like when you're maybe it's something that like summarizes, and that's just going to be helpful for anyone to have and optional to use. So something like that, maybe you can roll out to the whole department. But also there's other types of agents where you may really want to try it with a test group first to get initial feedback before you roll it out to the whole department. So something that I think really helps with adoption is preparing the users and communicating the change. Know that you can't always control the weather, so people might not like it, or maybe they will. Is it just going to be a test period, or is it going to be a permanently new workflow that you're going to keep? Are users hesitant to trust the agent's output? So yeah, we don't know how people are going to react for sure. They will have thoughts and feedback, and that's why doing a test for the small amount of users is great. It may just be another iteration, or maybe they'll think it's the best thing and they want to add more agents. but some things that also will help prepare for adoption are consider like, will this work for everybody? Will it work for a small group? Will some people be happy or unhappy? Is it going to be accurate? Do you still need a human? So one thing to help with adoption is I created a Workfront dashboard and I made a report for each agent that shows the output or the comments that the agent made so that I can track it and review it. So not only does it show adoption for how many times people are using each agent, but it actually shows if anything's broken. So I have actually caught very quickly, because I monitor that report, or that dashboard for the agents. I'm monitoring, like, is there something wrong? Like the output was duplicating, for example. So I'm like, oh, I think the API connection might, be broken. So just having those reports to help monitor really helps with adoption, and then just tracking usage, and then reaching out to the users for feedback and getting their true take on it. Like, is it something that they are finding helpful or what? And even I'm, notice some things with that dashboard, like, oh, I noticed that, it might be better to have the Workfront document name instead of the Workfront document ID, because most users don't know what that long digit is. So that's really things like that, and optimizations and reiterations are really helpful for that when it comes to the different seasons.
Yeah, I think an important one is also don't assume, right? So you assume that the users are also like that advanced as you building agents and so excited about this, but at the same time, better ask, or even better to observe what exactly users doing, because they can tell you different things, and behind the scene they can find this automation or this agentic ideas that you have for them, and you're thinking that it's gonna save them time, and they're so excited about using them. It's if it's not helpful, if it's overwhelming, if it's not safe, if they can trust this, you will really have challenges with adoption. So our proposal would be to talk to users earlier, explain what is this, provide like more information about how those agents works and why it's new, why it's important, what's difference, like make them safe those experiment and make that pleasant, right? So empower users to make them educated so they understand what's happening, maybe not technical details, but actually they can explain what's happening and what's they're new in their workflow, and yeah, set your system and your enterprise for success. And now harvest time, right? If you've done all the steps, if you went through one by one, and maybe you will have some combination of other order or will add some additional idea, it's great, but it works for us. So in this case, we really think that working through this framework, you can modify it, you can add additional steps, or kind of like maybe detailize some other things. But we believe going through this, you can get this harvest time, right? And you can see all these metrics that important to measure, especially in this new environment. Better to set up them very early in your workflow to understand where you're going and what you're going to achieve. But here is some examples that actually worked for Becky in this case, and she was able to capture those great outcomes, set up system from the start.
Yeah. So turnaround time, like right now, I can measure through a calculated field what the turnaround time is for any brand legal review or anything of that sort. So that once we're done with the AI agent, then what you could do is you could see from when you started the test, when you're finished with the test, and see if it actually improved the turnaround time with that calculated field in Workfront, to see really it's not just hearsay, but it's actually data that you're pulling with a calculated field for turnaround time. And adoption rate with that Workfront dashboard, I mean, that's a great way to tell. I know you can tell in the AI tools too, but if people are using it outside of Workfront and you really want to just tell, like, is this working in Workfront, then that would be the way to do it, is the reports for how many times, like the comments contain, and then I put the agent's name in there. So that would be, a way you can do it for one of the filters to set up the reports for adoption rate. And then just asking, like, did it actually improve? And, that's kind of where you're looking at it and monitoring it and asking users one-on-one or in surveys, was it helpful? Did it improve? Is it worth the tokens too? So yeah, those are all the things?
Great question. I love that. Is it worth the tokens? That's a very good one. You can track this in
Yeah,
your time.
hopefully
And
your harvest is good.
yeah, we came up with many more of those, but it's important that you understand the numbers, right? So then setting up the numbers and like your goals, what you would like to achieve, it will be great if you exceed in your goals. So they're all the great parameters. So that's why I think about like harvest, and then it's time to count. That's what you need to know, what you're counting and why.
Definitely.
Farmers market, that's exciting part. Now you have all your harvest and you can join other people who also either been there or would like to learn from you and would like to also be change agent in their organization. So it's really important that you're not alone on this journey. You can join your coworkers, you can join community, you can work together and get this great result and actually scale your agent from the pilot experimentation to your organization and beyond. So and we have examples.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just great because, once you release the agent and you communicate the new process, then, I mean, you may have a lot of people who you may just scale it across the whole organization or department, and people may come and be like, oh, I want to add more. I want to add now like another type of agent that does review or something. So it's really great when you have, everybody's starting to use the agent you make and even wanting to add more. So that's really how it grows.
Yes, and of course, have fun. It's really fun journey, and you can be together with experimentation, with also building those best practices together, and everyone builds together. In this example, showing you barn raising, that's what we would like to do also together. We would like to hear from you if you would like to share in the chat if you built any agent, or maybe you just experiment, just starting your experimentation with AI. If you share your journey, where you are at this journey around your agentic future, how you participate in this, it will be great. And there is a lot of other parts how you can participate in this, right? We can give you a couple of examples that we personally experienced. And Becky, let's start from you.
Yeah, so I'm seeing a lot of hackathons around at just in like for different user groups and whatnot starting. But we actually had an AI hackathon at Qualcomm, and I don't know if Brent, who is one of my colleagues, is on the call because I know he signed up, but he hosted a hackathon for us with Ryder, and so Ryder was there for support, and it was a really great event, and it was an opportunity for all of us to work together and give each other feedback and have a day dedicated to build an agent, because we know that it takes time to build an agent. There's you have to might need help from the AI tool like Writer to help with API connections for whatever tool you want to put your agent in. So yeah, it was a really great event. So I definitely love that. But there's definitely more of this concept coming out. Like I know at Summit there was the AI farm or the Agentic Marketing Garage, and Olya, you went to that second event for the Agentic Garage. How was that?
Yes, Adobe is building something special for you. I had the privilege to join 15 Adobe champions across all the product, and San has said that we were firsthand seeing inside of Agentic Marketing Garage how actually this agent built and what's coming up next. So now this concept are rolling out to all different cities, and sure it will be somewhere close to your city if you absolutely need to join this marketing garage. Search for this. It's absolutely experience leak, and you probably already saw some different announcement. It's just coming live, and first event happening this month. So join waitlist, join this movement, and experience firsthand how agents build, how they can collaborate, how they can bring like incredible agentic workflows inside of our tools that we love. So agentic marketing garage movement, that's something that I really recommend you to look into. If you not heard about this, just sign up from waitlist, or you can also host those events. That's also pretty incredible opportunity. So you can be a leader who can actually bring in the team together and building agents and seeing how they work together.
Definitely. So now it's time to hear from you. We want to hear your questions. I see there's a lot in the chat. We also I'm going to start the Q&A too. Like that's gonna so the Q&A is you can leave specifically for questions too, but we'll definitely look in the chat. And yeah, let's hear from you guys. Even if it's not a question, but if you want to just share your use case, then we'd love to hear what you're building or what you're most excited about for AI. So
Becky, I know there is one question in the chat that a lot of upvotes got there. It's a question about when we were talking about MCP infusion, and the team is asking, have MCP right privileges turn on, or is everything happening via Fusion? And there is some other connected question. When you mention agent, is that the agent inside of Workfront or Writer? So if you give us a little bit more information about Fusion, Writer, Workfront, and
Yeah.
CP API, how you exactly connect that, because it was, in this case, pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. I do have MCP turned on. So we do have that. We do have the privileges, but the reason why I'm not using MCP for this agent that's in Workfront is because it's being actually initiated inside Workfront. And for something like just getting a status update on a project, we thought that using an API, anybody could, we don't need to know who it is. Anybody can just use the API and say, give me a status update on it. So that we didn't think that really, did any harm so much. So I use an API inside Workfront, not MCP, because we don't have to know who it is or set permissions. And so in a project, when you have a bunch of tasks and it's time for the approval process for brand legal review and whatnot, then the agents are assigned to, one of the agents is assigned to a task. So the summarizer is going to kick off once once the other tasks are complete, and give the action items. And that is done through Fusion. But I'm using an API with the agent because we don't need to, because it's always like the owner of the project for who is doing the approval on there. That's the reason why I didn't need to use MCP for this use case. If yours is different, where you don't want, like you do need to know specifically who's doing that, you can't always assume it's the project owner, then yeah, that's going to be, you may not want to use an API. But I also found an API to be great because we don't have to worry about like licenses. It's kind of using the same agent under someone's name each time, so you don't have to be like, oh sorry, like you can't activate that because you don't have access to Writer or something, or go get access to Writer first. It's just the API made it really easy to do that. And that's kind of similar for how Collaborators works. I do think you have to specify in the agent, though, that you have to connect it to the tool with the API for it to work. And then Fusion, the other thing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just want to say that's a great comment as well in terms of privileges and who have access to what. So you can absolutely test it and understand who actually going to be using this. And Becky, as you're replying on this question, there is two more connected questions. I will read them, so you will formulate your answer. It's a connector calling in the writer skill or playbook within the Workfront UI, and also connected question, but the agent is a writer agent or Workfront native agent. So exactly how writer and Workfront communicate together.
Yep. So I made a user in Workfront with a fake email, and I so that I could kind of call it whatever I wanted, and for the because I'm connecting a playbook in Writer, and the Writer playbook has multiple skills, and in the Writer playbook I specified with an API to do it in Workfront Sandbox for my testing, and then I used it to connect to Workfront production for when the real thing, when we actually launched it. So on the Writer side in the playbook, you specify with the API connection that was set up by Writer for doing the, connecting the tool. And then on the Workfront side, I made it as a user, and all that we did was we needed, you have to use webhooks in Fusion and get the right webhook for each, where I know that like Copilot, Writer, like they can all help you find where that is, because most of the time if you have to make the agent to find that, otherwise you might have to ask them. And once you get that webhook information, then you can actually connect it with in Workfront. You can anytime, so what I'm doing is I'm not actually setting the webhook information up under the user. I'm just making we made a Fusion scenario that's like anytime this user is assigned or tagged in a comment, then activate the agent. So that's how it works. And the only reason that I'm doing that right now is in the interim until the playbooks are supported for the collaborators. So that will be soon, because I'm using playbooks, which are the multi-skill agents.
Yes, again, then choosing your way, you need to understand, is it like multi-scale or one skill? Do you want to use the same approach that was shared today with user as an agent inside of Workfront for permission sake, right? And for like this particular workflow, or everyone have access to MCP and using through MCP those function and action happening through this way. So that was a lot of, and I see someone comment it was a writer agent.
Yeah. What about, because there is a time and a place for MCP for sure. Like, I definitely think for when it comes to like any type of initiation of projects, or even certain requests too, because sometimes certain request queues are closed. But just for this review agent where it's happening inside, that's kind of the reason why I thought API was the best choice for that. What about the question on writer?
Yeah, I can also comment when MCP is great. One, like if you use in planning, right, you can absolutely connect through MCP and build your workspaces or build different things that you would like using MCP, especially if you like repeating something all the time, or you need some actions to be performed inside of planning. So that's the way how you can use MCP. And this is my use case, and really works very well for this particular use cases. But yeah, so combine playbooks and writer skills that you can build on MCP that you can access through Workfront and other system. So that's what's the comment. So any other questions? We have just 4 minutes left before our event. Yeah, can you demo an Adobe Workfront Fusion using MC? It's a great question. I think for future, we absolutely can consider more depths. You can answer your like send us feedback. You will get feedback form with the survey, so you can absolutely write your ideas, what you would like us to cover next time, and we will be happy to consider and prepare those different things that you would like to learn. Looks like the hot topic, Adobe Workfront Fusion using MCP. Yeah, that's great. We can do it with planning, we can do it with Workfront, and if you specifically can say exactly what use case you're trying to solve, we will be happy to bring you great ideas.
Yeah, I think we'll do we'll have an Experience League post where we can talk on there after, but also we'll, post on our LinkedIn's too, and there'll be like the recording and everything, so we can post that after. But yeah, I see, just to make sure I answer the question too, it is a writer playbook that is being connected and activated through Fusion. But soon the collaborators will be able to do that, so you won't really have to build something custom. But yeah, that's let's see if we have any other questions too.
We have some feedback from champions. It's great, well organized and fun gardening concept. Thank you for sharing, champs. Yes, thank you, champs, for inspiring us to produce great things. And we absolutely will be super happy to continue this conversation, either going in depth of the examples that you heard and maybe like build upon this, or using the framework. And we're going to be super happy to hear your story. If you apply some of the part that we shared today, or maybe enhance what we shared, it will be great to hear your experience and how you're actually using this in practice. That will be our good goal. Yeah, I see those, a lot of hearts, a lot of applause. Thank you for that. Thank you for supporting and being so active. It's again inspiring us to build such events, and we will be super happy to host more of such type of events. And please answer in the survey, so we will know what exactly you like the most, and we'll be happy to work and present you in the future.
Yeah, we sure will. I think, we definitely let us know if you like this topic, and then we can do more on it. So yeah, we have a minute left. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming and taking the time, and I hope we can continue the conversation about this on Experience League and LinkedIn, and then in another event soon. So yeah,
I probably saw the most word love in this chat, and a lot of things, a lot of love here. Thank you so much. Great info, great jam, great collaboration. Absolutely appreciate all the participation, and thank you for joining this event. And we'll be happy to continue our conversation. Thank you, team.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great rest of the day.